Okay, are we recording? Yes. All right, it's 4:36 a.m. I figured while I'm at the studio, kind of working with all the synths, I should do my shootout now. So this is the Minimoog Model D, and this is the Moog Subsequent 37 kind of shootout. I said I was gonna do it in another video, and here it is. This is the Model D. It is one of the most legendary pieces of music history, and it's generally regarded as that sound when people are looking for like a great low-end monophonic synth. And then this is the Subsequent 37. It is the iterative improvement of the Sub 37, which was the last synth that Robert Moog, who worked on before he died. So this is pretty well the most modern and up-to-date, fully realized Robert Moog kind of synth. They sound different and they're priced different. This is 2,000 American. Well, this is 5.5 thousand American. So right off the bat, that's a 3.5K difference. This is the 2022 reissue, which has some modern features, and it's actually cheaper than if you were to pay for like the one from the 70s. Although they sound the same, like 99.999% the same. This is it's just not the one from the 70s. So really you're paying for the commemorative literal like museum piece when you buy the one from the 70s. Other than that, it's the exact same synth, same signal path. They're both fully analog, each of them with their pros and cons. This one has its oscillator section. It has 3 oscillators. You have your mixer section, you have your modulation, and you have your pitch glide, your portamento. You have your filter right there, and then you have your envelope. So you have your filter envelope and you have your amplitude envelope, and then you have your output section. Here you have your portamento, you have your modulation, you have your oscillators, you have your mixer, you have your filter, and then you have your envelope section, amplitude envelope, and then you have your filter envelope, and then you have your output section. So right off the bat, pretty close in layout. Maybe things are in different spots, but other than that, if you know one, you know both. This one has an arpeggiator. That makes it pretty cool. You can do some pretty nice stuff with that. And it has a bunch of patches. It has 256 patches. This has knobs. So if you want to set your, get some presets going, then you have to write them down like in a book with a pen, right? Like, that's what we're dealing with here. This is like one of those like legendary ancient pieces that, functionally still feels super ancient to use. But sonically, it's completely timeless. Like Michael Jackson Thriller, Shine On You Crazy Diamond, NWA was using it. You're still going to hear this on like tons of records today when, people are looking to fill up that low end with a inconspicuously massive bass. It doesn't have to sound old. It's just a crazy sound. Where this one it's trying. I mean, they're both like monophonic in the way of like, super powerful kind of leads and bass lines. This is duophonic. So, I mean, you can play 2 notes, but this is strictly monophonic. You can play 1 at a time. So that's kind of the rundown of them. They are super dope. Really awesome. Both of them are, they kind of feel like cousins in a way, or siblings. Interestingly enough, this one is regarded as a weaker kind of low end, but simultaneously a darker synth, which is odd to me. So it's like, doesn't have as much high end sizzle, and it doesn't have as much really low end weight. Where this has both. This has a lot of massive low end weight and a ton of high end sizzle. So I've done my best to kind of match them up here. This has 2 oscillators and a sub. So the sub is a octave down from whatever oscillator 1 is set to be, which in this case it's a kind of a triangle sawtooth hybrid at 16 feet. And then this one is currently set at a triangle at 16 feet. And that means that oscillator, or the sub of this, will be 32 feet. And it's always a square. Like the sub is always a square. So I've set oscillator 3 to this to 32 feet, and I set it to a square. So I've matched them up like pretty close. The idea is not to be perfect, but just to give you a taste. Model D. Subsequent 37. So I'll just do that once more. You can kind of listen to those. That's the filter's completely open, and just try to get them pretty close. So you, right off the bat, I'm sure people will have their preferences. In this video particularly, I'm going to be focusing on the low end and the filter. That's pretty much it. I'm just giving a quick little overview of the two. Build quality wise, they're both extremely nice. This has modern features in the way of aftertouch. Actually, there was a huge aftertouch problem with the 2022 units, but I'm lucky enough to have one that has no issues. And it has MIDI. This same situation, aftertouch MIDI. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to introduce, before we start cutting frequencies out, a second oscillator here. So what I'm intending to do is another square wave at 8 feet, and everything, for the sake of example here, will be full volume on the mixer. So I will do that now. Let's take a listen. Pretty brutal. And then let's try that here. Let's give a comparison. And in post, I'm going to make sure all the levels are, you know, exact so that you have a pretty even playing field here. Something to note is that this has digital oscillator controls. They're both fully analog synths. This has some digital oscillator kind of control in the way of, you don't have to tune this frequently. I mean, I did this morning just for the sake of this video, but this one is super, like, notoriously challenging to keep in tune, and you have to kind of tune it pretty much every session to ensure the oscillators don't drift completely out of key. But that kind of adds to some of the analog character. The imperfections of the oscillators sort of thicken the sound in a way that I feel like I can already hear here. This sounds like it's moving quite a bit more, and I've done my absolute best to tune this up, like my best, and so I think it couldn't get better. There's just going to be that natural drift. So pretty close. Okay, so I'm going to... What am I going to do? One thing before I start cutting frequency off, I just want to show the noise. So everything is off right now but the noise generators. They both have pink noise, although this one has white noise. I think, and I figured it out today, that I like the white or the pink noise on this a lot more than this. I don't know why, but let's just, you know, you guys can be the judge of that. Oops. Again, pretty brutal. And then we got this one. Oops. So we got your pink noise on the Model D. Pink noise on the Subsequent 37. Which I hate. Does not sound chill at all. For the sake of demonstration, we may as well just leave it at half volume on both. Or actually, let's say a quarter. Okay, so they're pretty well exactly set to the same settings now. What I will mention is that they both have an external, like, kind of feedback in, which loops the output into itself and allows for some distortion. So we'll add that into both. Oh, my bad. I wasn't playing the sub for this one. That's why it sounded so weak. Okay, I'm gonna add the kind of feedback. I will keep it at half for both. So this is what we're working with now. They're pretty close. I mean, they're pulling their weight, each of them, I think. So let me just start bringing the filter down on each. I'll do half. And I'll keep pulling. And at this point, I'm just going to boost the feedback for some more saturation. Okay, pretty close. The low ends are like actually very similar, which is impressive to me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just kind of demonstrate the glide function on both of them. And now I'm going to mess with the resonance, which essentially adds a resonant peak at exactly where the cutoff left off. So pretty similar. I think that could be sufficient. I'm gonna try to thicken up the low end of both of them a bit, and we'll just do another little quick. You can decide in the comments what you think, or in your own head, or whatever, is the most pleasing to you. So let's get into that. I think they're both they hold their weight great for the price of the Subsequent 37. You quite genuinely cannot go wrong. From this little demonstration here, trying to match them, I've been able to get them pretty close. But I've developed a lot fatter basses with the Model D than I I feel like I'm able to with the 37, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like they can match and they can kind of stand with each other. But when you push them into what each of them are strong in, they're very different in that this has tons of modern features. Again, the arpeggiator and the presets, and just some, I feel like the modulation's a lot more modern, and so on. But this one just does bass really good. So let's just quickly go through and try to make a heavier patch for each, and then we'll wrap it up. So this is kind of like a good example of that. I kind of just tried to push them both in the same direction. We have the bass, we'll play a lower C here on the Subsequent 37. And then we'll do one on the Model D. In my mind, that's quite a bit richer and that's a lot more sterile. Across the video, pretty neck and neck, but when you try to push them both in the direction of a powerful bass, it kind of becomes clear as to why the Model D pulls forward as that sound. If you believe it's worth $3,500 different, that's, I mean, up to you. I run a studio, so I figured it makes sense to kind of have both, let people choose. If I was to go into a studio and I had an option, I'd definitely use this for my bass, but that's again up to you. So I'll just play a few more notes and then we'll wrap it up. We'll do a portamento glide from the top to bottom. So that's pretty much it for the video. You be the judge, I guess. I mean, for the value, $2,000, you really cannot go wrong with the Subsequent 37. And I don't think in a mix, many people will be able to tell. I mean, I can tell I have the big stereo system and whatnot, but I'm not sure many people will be able to tell. That's about it for this video. If you want to see more between these two, maybe some different patches, some leads, just feel free to let me know. And I figured I'd just do a bass video specifically kind of thing to really show off what most people buy these monosynths for. Again, yeah, totally duophonic synth, but kind of monosynth, you know, vibes, monosynth type stuff. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see some more synthesis stuff. I'm gonna do it here and there. I like synthesis. I find it like super dope and like really enjoyable. So I'm gonna keep doing it just for fun. But I mean, I have the gear, so if you want to hear it used in any kind of way, just feel free to ask. Okay, guys, thanks so much.